There's a lot to go through, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you, this has been an extremely exciting Winter Olympics. Canada, of course, started very slow out of the gate, where I think the last time we were this slow to actually get a gold medal was in the 50s sometime. That it took us more than 10 days to get a gold medal. But as I predicted in our last week's show and the show prior to that, Mikhail Kingsbury actually came through and won Canada's first gold medal. So there is quite a bit here I want to go through, and very exciting. And I know everybody's just waiting for me to get to the hockey, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep the best for last for women's hockey and men's hockey. Medal standings. Everybody's curious about medal standings, and to no one's surprise, we have Norway on top of the pile with 33 medal podium finishes, 15 of which are gold. And you know what? I think that the host nation of Italy just has to be absolutely proud and ecstatic by the performance of their countrymen and Italy's athletes. They've actually got 26 medals here, I believe it or not, closely followed by the United States of 24. Canada, our Canadian athletes have actually medaled 14 times, of which four are gold, four are silver, and six are bronze. So congratulations to the Canadian kids for being competitive. And I'd also like to put a plug in for my country of ethnic heritage of Slovenia, all of 2 million people in population. Yep, we've got four medals. Two of them are gold, one is bronze, and one is silver. And all of it is for that crazy sport of ski jumping, Gary. One of these days, you and I are going to go ski jumping, and we'll see
No.
how we actually fare. But yeah, all the medals are ski jumping, Gary.
I know
You
my
look like
limits.
you know your limits, yeah.
Oh, I know my limits.
Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, so look, there have been quite a few stories during these games, Gary. What do you want to talk about first, performances or controversies?
Let's do the controversies because Canada was involved in the curling controversy for sure.
Well, yeah, well, let's talk about. There's actually three I want to quickly talk about.
Yep.
I briefly mentioned last week's controversy about Vladislav Harashkevich, who during his practice runs representing the Ukraine, he wore a helmet showing images of Ukrainian athletes killed in the war, and it was actually ruled as a political statement under the Olympic rules on athletic expression. And Gary, there was a follow-up story to this. The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, did warn him, and he was actually barred from competing unless he complied with the ruling of removing the helmet. And there was, of course, an appeal. And Kirsty Coventry, the new IOC president, who's been doing a remarkable job in replacing the Bach, he actually postponed a personal visit to another event just to meet with Vladislav to try to convince him to compete without the helmet. Gary, at the end of the day, he stuck to his personal convictions and principle, and he refused. He refused not to compete with the helmet. And as a result, Gary, disciplinary measures, of course. The IOC withdrew his accreditation, meaning he was banned from competing, believe it or not. And the IOC was also supported by the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation Journey, citing the Olympic Charter rules must be adhered to. So there's two huge governing bodies that basically found him in contempt, and he could not compete with that helmet. And I was watching an interview by Christy Coventry, the IOC president. And Gary, she was in tears. She was so saddened that it came to this decision that they had to follow the rules, and I completely understand them following the rules. She was in absolute tears about the entire thing when she was interviewed. So she really did take it to heart, and it's something we talked about last week. How closely intertwined and how easily politics can become an issue. In this particular case, I won't call it politics, but there's an active war going on, and Ukraine is fighting for its life. And you had one citizen who decided to pay tribute to his fellow countrymen, and you know what? It ended up costing him his Olympics. And also saw a video of his coach, who happened to be his dad, who was just completely in tears about the entire thing, but he came back as quoted as saying he was extremely proud of his son for him to stick up for his convictions. And as a result, Gary, there were other competitors in support of the Olympic athlete, the Ukrainian athlete. They actually protested by raising the palm of their hands just before the races. And this was basically a reflection of what Ukrainian luger Olena Smaha did. She used her gloves on her gloves, she actually had the words in English written on them. Remembrance is not a violation. So all the athletes participating in the sled events were actually holding their hands up in support of the Ukrainian athlete. You know, good on them. I respect what the Ukrainian athlete did. And you know what? A lot of other people respected what he did. It's rare for an athlete to be removed right before a competition, but this is what essentially happened. Um, he was awarded the Medal of Freedom by Ukrainian President Zelensky, one of the highest honors a citizen of that country can actually get. So you know what? The entire country is behind them for his position. So
Now,
that's the end of that one,
Eddie,
and the competition
yeah,
continued.
I, I get what he was trying to do, and we had a bit of a conversation about this. We go back to last week's stream where we talked about the protests at the Olympics, and to me, again, protesters and everybody, you stay out, keep them as far away from the Olympics and the venues and everything as possible,
Right.
and go at it. But on the other side, the athletes know what the rules are, and just go and compete. Never mind trying to make a political statement. Use your fame that you gain if you're a medal winner, especially a gold medal winner, after the fact. But while you're at the competition, you should be just focusing strictly on the competition, your competition, so that you're at peak performance level all the way through.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, and I'll stop. I'll leave you alone now.
And you know what? On a good day, Gary, I would actually agree with you. The only problem is, as I mentioned at the onset of the segment, politics and what's going on in the world are so tightly woven in the psyche of a lot of these athletes, and it's just becoming very difficult for them to just do what you're suggesting for them to do. You train for 4 years, just focus on the event, and then go out there and win the event, and then do what you can with your notoriety. I guess in this particular case, you just couldn't hold it back and made a tribute out of it. And look, you know what? There were other political statements being made. A lot of the American athletes are saying they're competing for the United States of America that they remember, not the United States of America of today. I mean, that's a whole segment in protest in itself. But you know, the MAGA group, of course, are up in arms because of this. You know, you're competing for the United States. You're supposed to promote the United States. You know what, Gary? In some cases, you're in an Olympic village where the entire world knows exactly what's going on in the United States, and you're kind of feeling a little small about being part of the United States, and you're going to be invariably asked questions about the United States. So, you know, the American athletes, I feel for them, they're also under an extreme amount of pressure to be very careful as to what they say. Who knows what the consequences are going to be when they get home in terms of their continued athletic scholarships and whatnot. So it's politics have just taken a grip on international events like this, and I hope one day it'll go back to the way it used to be, where it was all about the athlete and the competitions. Now, Gary, getting back to some other controversies, curling. Yeah, Canada had a curling controversy, and during a Canada versus Sweden match, Gary, Swedish players openly and verbally accused Canadian curler Mark Kennedy of double touching a stone after release, which is legal under curling terms. So If you recall, the curler will move forward with the stone, let it go, and kind of twist the handle so it'll turn, or the stone will start curling. Well, just before the touch line, he just kind of poked the stone a little bit. I don't know what the intent was. Was he trying to turn a little bit more? Was he supposed to try to poke it and give him some more speed? I don't know. I've never been a curler, but it's illegal under curling rules. Now, here's the thing: there was no penalty that was issued because the officials did not see the violation, and no penalty. There's no clear violation. And what's unsportsmanlike, Gary, what's unsportsmanlike about this was Canadian curler Mark Kennedy, as I mentioned, he started hurling four-letter profanities towards the Swedish team. Uh, in all his glory and anger, saying that there was no double touch. Now, clearly, Gary, there were videos after the fact that showed a double touch. It was just a delicate touch, okay? And you know what? Curling, very much like rugby, is known for self-officiating and sportsmanship. And you know what? This felt unusually tense. Now, I saw it. He did barely touch it. And you know what? The right thing from the Canadian curler should have been, you know what? Oops, I screwed up. Let's call that shot illegal, and he didn't do that, which is why the Swedish curler called him out on it. And of course, there was a little bit of mind games that go on back and forth. But the IOC did not penalize him, but they did remind him that he's in the Olympics and there's a certain level of sportsmanship that the Olympic Committee is expecting from every one of the athletes. So, you know what? Yeah, we got into a little tussle there, and in the very aggressive and physical sport of curling, yeah, leave it to Canadian to start a fight somewhere on the ice, right? And and the other one, Gary, the last one I'll talk about is the Canada-France hockey game where Canada defeated France 10-2. And it's the big fight everyone is talking about. Now, this was between Canada's Tom Wilson and French national player Pierre Pignon. And this fight basically happened late in the game when the game was pretty much over, and the French player decided to really make a high dirty hit on Canadian star Nathan MacKinnon. Now Wilson, who is a very, very talented hockey player, but he's also not afraid to drop the gloves, and he's a tough individual. He jumped in to defend his teammate, and the gloves came off. Now, unlike the National Hockey League, Gary, fighting is not allowed in IIHF hockey, which the Olympics actually follow in terms of rules. And immediately, penalties were dished out. And how big of a fight was this? It was more of a dance and more swinging and gloves off more than anything else. And you can see that Wilson was restraining himself because he knows how severe the penalties potentially might be in terms of his continued participation in the Olympics. So he kind of held back. Anyway, they both got game misconducts, 25 minutes for fighting and ongoing roughing penalties. Now, here's the interesting part. There was no further disciplinary actions or measures against the Canadian player. However, Pierre Crignon from France, the IOC didn't put tougher sanctions on him or penalize him. It was the French Ice Hockey Federation. They suspended him for the rest of the Olympics, Gary. Why? Behavior on and off the ice violated Olympic values, and it was reported that Crignon made provocative gestures towards fans as he was walking out of the arena. So it was the French Olympic Committee that said, you know what, this is not what we want to promote for the Olympics. You're gone. So again, another incident on ice, Gary. You just can't keep Canadians from not behaving themselves on the ice. And you know what, Gary? Actually, so far throughout the Olympics, it's worth noting. Because you might expect it from the Olympics, but there have been no major doping disqualification yet reported, at least publicly. There's not one incident so far, which is really great to see. There was also no medal strips or retroactive bans.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, there are no medal strips. Nobody was stripped of their medals or retroactive bans announced, and there were no mass disciplinary rulings against teams or federations. So so far so good, and that's I think that has a lot to do with the new IOC president in terms of ensuring these games went very smoothly. Gary, let me talk about Canada's performance, if I may. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? We're not going to be beating our record that was done in the 2010 Olympics, but the athletes are doing very well, and they seem to be picking up steam. So we picked up a medal in figure skating, bronze. We in freestyle skiing, we're doing very well as expected. We got 2 golds, a silver and a bronze. Short track speed skating, which now the medal activities happening in the next few days. We got a gold, 2 bronzes, and 2 silvers. Snowboarding, we got a silver medal. And in speed skating, Gary, we have 1 gold and we have 2 bronzes for a total of 14 medals. And I'm not going to go through all the Canadian medalists, but I will make some mention of our gold medalists. In freestyle skiing and men's dual moguls, as I predicted, the King, Michael Kingsbury, has come through and he won the gold medal. In women's free ski big air, a gold medal went to Megan Oldham. In speed skating, women's team pursuit, gold medal for 3 lady speed skaters. And my wife and I actually won that race, watched that race. Extremely, extremely exciting. Where up until the last lap, they were trailing, and they actually steamed ahead and won the gold medal in that. Quite the event to watch. And also a gold medal in the men's short track speed skating 500 meters. Stephen Dubois won a gold medal in that one. And there's a whole slew of other people that I can go through, but it'll take us quite a bit of time. So the Canadian athletes are faring very well, extremely proud representing our country. And Gary, I'll tell you what, I watched the medal ceremony, and every time I hear the Canadian anthem, it's very, very hard not to get goosebumps on your forearms and your skin. Just watching that Canadian flag getting raised, and then watching the athletes taking the moment. Really, really something to see.
And there was a show-stopping moment the other day when, after the hockey game, the Canadian women just stayed on the ice when the game ended and stood there in a line and sang the national anthem on their own.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And again, it all comes down to the athletes realizing and understanding why they are there. They are there. This is the largest combined global sporting event there is, the Olympics. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And to show that kind of respect, commitment to their country, and in the spirit of the athletes at the Winter Olympics, there was no greater display of sportsmanship and national pride than what the women's team did. No question about it. And while we're talking about women's hockey, Gary, there's always a Canada versus USA rivalry, as I mentioned last time. This is the 8th Olympic tournament where that featured women's hockey. USA has taken home 2 gold medals so far, and Canada has won 5. And except for just one time, all the finals featured a Canada-US finale, and Canada versus Sweden in 2006 in turn was the only exception. Now, interesting note here. I don't know if you knew, Gary, but our Canadian women have lost 7 straight games versus the United States in any sort of international tournament or play. And let me tell you, the Olympic women's team is a tough, disciplined, well-skilled, and well-coached hockey team. No question about it. So going into tomorrow's game, Gary, the bronze medal game is between Sweden versus Finland, and the gold medal game again is between Canada and the United States. And the Canadian girls, the Canadian women are actually going into this as underdogs. And you know what? It's going to be a great game in both cases, Switzerland versus Sweden for the bronze medal. And the gold medal game is going to be a great one, too. So that's happening tomorrow, Thursday. I believe the Canadian women play at 1 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time. So I'm looking forward to that tussle, and good luck to the Canadian women. You should be proud of yourselves.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Let's get on to the men's hockey.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterfinals, Gary. After all the preliminaries have been done, this is when the big boys come out to play, and I say that very often, where some players excel and some players do the Houdini and disappear. And let me tell you what, the teams in the quarterfinals did not disappoint. So, of course, Canada, along with the United States, made it in as top of their groups. And in today's games, we had Slovakia versus Germany, Canada versus Czechia. And Canada beat Czechia handily 5-0 in the preliminary round. We had Finland versus Switzerland today and USA versus Sweden. I watched the Canada-Czechia game, Gary, and I'll tell you what, Czechia, they showed up to play today. And it was up and down, excellent display of hockey from one end of the rink to the other. The goaltenders are both standing on their heads. Canada was out shooting Czechia by a 2-1 margin by midway point through the game, but the scoring chances were fantastic on both ends. And Gary, with 7 minutes left to play, it was a 2-2 tie. Palat from Czechia scored for the go-ahead goal, 3-2. Now, while we were on the subject of controversy, Gary, we had controversy here. You sitting? Okay, here we go.
Yep.
At the time of that go-ahead goal of 3-2, with about 7 minutes left to go, Czechia had 6 players on the ice the whole play. This is 6 skaters plus the goalie, which is a no-no. They had 6 players on the ice in their zone. He had 6 players on the ice when one of them blocked the shot. They had 6 players on the ice when they skated down the opposite end of the ice towards the Canadian goal. And after they scored a goal, there were 6 men in the corner beside the goaltender celebrating on the ice. Now here's the kicker, Gary. No one saw this. The referees missed it. Canada's bench staff missed it, the coaching staff, and Canada's coaching and booth staff missed it as well. Normally, they will radio down to the head coach and say, hey,
Yep.
You better challenge this. No one challenged it. And the rule in hockey, if there's no challenge, as soon as the puck drops, it's game on. So can you imagine Canada losing in the quarterfinals, not making it to the Final Four because everybody missed the call? That was so freaking close, Gary. Anyway, moving on. The tie. Montreal Canadiens. Yes, the Montreal Canadiens captain Nick Suzuki ties the game with his first goal of the tournament with about 3.5 minutes left to go in the game. And this game goes into overtime, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
In the minute and 22 seconds into overtime, someone who I never liked as a hockey player, yes, used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitch Marner, formerly of the Toronto Maple Leafs, presently of the Vegas Knights, scores the winner in overtime, 1 minute and 22 seconds. Canada wins the game 4-3. And let me tell you, Gary, when they scored that goal, I was upstairs on the roof by the pool. My wife was up there with the charming 3 other women taking sun. I had to yell. I had to celebrate and yell. And unfortunately, that didn't go over too well because I was disturbing the tranquility and peace of the pool. But you know what? Canada won. It was an emotional outburst. I couldn't help it. I'm a hockey fan, and you know what? It was a game for the ages. Canada prevails at 4-3. You know what? The Canadians, I'm not sure that they underestimated Czechia, but Czechia has a very, very talented team, and they came to play full marks for pushing Canada to its limit. The sad note of this entire story is Canada's captain Sidney Crosby really fell awkwardly on his leg, and he limped off and he did not return. And Coach Cooper was basically trying to hold a positive an interview and kind of convey positive vibes, but I really don't know if he'll be able to make it back because it did not look good. That
Yeah,
twist
you
did
said
not
his
look good.
leg kind of, I didn't see it, but you said his leg kind of went into a
It kind
weird,
of buckled under him as he went back, and it
right.
did not look good. So
Yeah,
let's
no,
hope
that
he's
doesn't,
going to be
yeah, that doesn't
okay.
sound
Just
good.
no, not at all. I mean, he came off the ice in obvious pain, and then he hobbled down to the dressing room, and he never came out. So let's fingers crossed on that one because that would be a big loss for Team Canada. In other games, Gary, very important. Slovakia 6 versus Germany 2. And yes, Gary, another
Mhm.
Montreal Canadiens player, Juraj Slavkovsky. He's having a hell of a tournament again. He's got multiple goals and multiple points. He's a big man, a young man, and he's doing extremely well in the tournament. So Slovakia moves on to the semifinals, beating Germany 6-2. In another round, we had Finland playing Switzerland. That one also went to overtime, and like Canada, Finland was constantly behind on the scoreboard, and they actually won the game 3-2 over Switzerland in overtime. And
Wow.
another one, the favorites, United States, USA and Sweden went into overtime, Gary, at 1-1. And very early in overtime, Quinn Hughes of the United States, he nets the winner in overtime. So United States, Finland, Slovakia, and Canada move into the next round. So what does that mean, Gary? Come Friday the 20th, Canada versus Finland at 10:40 a.m. our time Eastern, and
Mhm.
United States versus Slovakia at 3:10 in the afternoon. And then for anyone that's interested, we've got the bronze medal match from the losers of this semifinal set up on Saturday at, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern. And the gold medal on Sunday morning at 8:10 Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know what? Let's hope we see a Canada USA gold medal game because that'll just set the stage for a rematch of the Four Nations Cup, in which Canada beat the United States in overtime. And there has been a lot of trash talk coming from the United States in terms of getting some retribution to that loss. And they're
Hmm.
basically saying, remember that loss at the Four Nations tournament. So, yeah, that's it for me from the Olympic side, Gary. And you know what? I forgot to do my research on one other thing today. It was a shout out. As you know, the Olympic venues for ice hockey were very, very, very late in terms of completing their construction.
Yep.
And the Canadian professional, who's also known as the Godfather Ice Doctor of ice surfaces, he has absolutely, and my apologies, I can't remember his name. He has been an absolute savior of all the ice surfaces at the Olympic venues where it has managed. The ice surfaces has managed to survive the test of hard competition on the Olympic ice surfaces. And I've heard interviews from the players saying at the beginning of the tournament, the ice was a little slow, but I guess he must go to center ice, have a Putin, and basically sing the kind of this hockey song and pray to the ice to get it into great condition that it's in right now. So hats off, Gary, and just a
Yep.
reminder for me, I'll have to remember what his name is so I can bring it up in next week's show. He's done a fantastic job on the ice surfaces, so all credit to him for the success of the ice hockey games.